Hey guys, what's up? This is Dan from whitepill.tv and welcome to episode 32. Why is shamanism the foundation of consciousness? It is as old as the oldest cave drawings from the Upper Paleolithic Age around 30,000 BC and coincides with the time humans started to create artistic works, petroglyphs, carvings and engravings on bone and ivory. Shamanism is as old as when we humans started become conscious of ourselves. It still survived as practices in native tribes all around the world until today. Shamanism is the one common denominator between indigenous tribal folks from all areas around the world, from 30,000 years BC until today, and on all continents. Who is associated with shamanism? Well, in the Western world, there are four noteworthy people who brought it to our Western consciousness. First of all, I would start with Michael Harner. He is an anthropologist who popularized core shamanism with his books as a method for shamanic practices he learned while he was living with tribal folks in South America and other places around the world, like in Siberia. And then later, in his life, he published the book The Way of the Shaman and founded the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. And he had a big influence on popularizing these traditional methods, particularly for the Western audience. Then we have Carl Gustav Jung, the known psychiatrist and psychoanalyst from Switzerland. He was not openly a shaman, but his writings in his personal diaries were published in the Red Book in 2009. And a lot of his journey entries there, they actually indicate that he was traveling to other realms and had discussions with entities and which he communicated with. And he didn't openly talk about this because in his profession as a psychiatrist, it might have actually adverse consequences for his career to talk about this openly. Then we have Alberto Villoldo, a medical anthropologist who wrote books about his experiences with tribal folks, and Sandra Ingerman. She's also an author of books about shamanic practices. But what is shamanism? Shamanism involves traveling to other realms of existence in an altered state of consciousness. Also, shamans perform miracles. And the most important part is that shamans know when to shut up. For example, Carl Gustav Jung, he shut up for shamanism until long after his death in the year 2009, when his diaries were published. So, where can you find shamanism? All around the world. Native tribes independently discovered these methods everywhere on the world throughout the millennia. And this is so striking about it. Even though tribal folks didn't have any way to communicate with each other through the telephone or the internet like we can today, they discovered these shamanic practices and methods in different ways that are unique to their own tribe, maybe. But the core basic principles were discovered to be the same all over the world. And the interesting part about core shamanism is that we can basically define three worlds that we can visit in these conscious states. First, the middle world, where we are here in our physical realm, and then by visualization you can travel to the upper world and to the lower world, where you can talk to entities representative of unconscious processes with a little bit of practice, but we will get to that in a different video. And when was the time for shamanism? Actually, in all time frames, as long as humans were conscious of each other. For thousands of years, shamanism predates all religions back to 30,000 BC. So, for example, these founders of big religions like Christianity, I think that actually these people were shamans themselves. If I remember this his story from Moses' burning bush where he talked to, and that these situations remind me of my own shamanic journeys. And what is a big possibility here is that actually these founders and writers of the Bible were able to use shamanic methods to travel to these other realms and write it down in a book, but they didn't continue to tell the whole story. Like they didn't teach the methods on how to do the shamanic practices themselves. So maybe they wanted to make money, but on the other hand, maybe they just wrote down their journals and other people took it literally. We don't know about what happened. But there are a lot of similarities in the writings of religions all over the world, and that you can relate to very well as a shamanic practitioner. That these people who wrote those books were traveling to other realms. And why would you learn shamanic practices? Basically, all the effects that are reachable through psychedelics and other entheogens can be reached through shamanic practices. But shamanic practices are much better controllable and have less side effects than psychedelics, which makes them even more effective. And healing, of course, at least through the placebo effect. We are not going to say that you can cure diseases with it. That would be illegal in most parts of the world, but psychology is very strong, and the placebo effect has a lot of effect on healing. So you can utilize that to make yourself feel better when you're having diseases. Shamanic practices increase the synchronicities for me. Since I've been doing them, I'm much more effective in reading people, in reading myself, in reading my unconscious, so that I'm more effective in anticipating situations and do what is the right thing to do at the right time. And they help with goal setting because it helps to organize your thinking. By doing a shamanic journey and having a discussion with a representation of your subconscious mind, with your unconscious, by discussing it with an entity, it makes it much better to clarify where you are going, where you want to go. And another very important thing is that divination work becomes possible. So I would actually say that we are all connected through the unconscious and through the collective unconsciousness. And you can tap into this with shamanic work and get very effective results out of this. Achieving the flow state is one advantage of shamanic practices. Since I do the shamanic work, I'm much better in the flow state. I'm much more able to perform my work. It definitely has like something to do with being able to go on a shamanic journey and discuss ideas with multiple aspects of your unconscious or the collective unconscious even. And so that maybe sometimes you're doubtful about something, but then you look at it from multiple perspectives, like when you're doing a MDMA or psychedelics trip, but without the side effects, and you can decide when to stop it. So it actually helps a lot with reaching the flow state. And for that, it also helps with reaching productivity, of course. How can you learn shamanism? Best is to attend a class from the Foundation for Shamanic Studies and learn it in person or through a Zoom class, a Zoom call. They're regularly held in multiple time zones, USA, Europe, Japan. And that's the best way to do it. And also, I read the book The Way of the Shaman already years ago, but it didn't make any sense. So I don't think it makes sense to learn shamanism through books or video courses. I think it needs to be done through an in-person course or a Zoom call. And basically, shamanism involves drumming to bring you into a trance-like state of mind. And there are also shamans that are using psychedelics, mostly in the Amazon rainforest, but these are limited actually. Only about 10% of shamanic practitioners are using entheogens or other drugs in order to induce the trance state. You can utilize shamanic practices like shamanic extraction or shamanic soul part retrieval for healing psychological issues rather quick. For example, when I'm having a procrastination issue, it helps me to get back to work rather quick. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you like it. If so, please push the like button. Comment below if you have any more questions and subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to the newsletter and you will find more information on psychedelics, shamanic processes and everything you can have in order to increase your consciousness on this wonderful world.